important issues. CBS 10 WILM's weekly focus on the Lower Cape Fear region. This is Byline Wilmington with your host, Don Ansell.
Welcome and good morning. Were the toxins leaking into the water at Camp Lejeune for 3 decades responsible for the untold number of health problems that Marine families have suffered? That question has caused an uproar reaching as far as the Secretary of the Navy and the halls of Congress. Our guest was at Camp Lejeune during that time and maintains that his daughter's death was a result. Retired Marine Master Sergeant Jerry Ensminger is with us. Jerry, thank you for coming in.
Hey.
Yeah. And Jerry lives right down in North Carolina at White Lake.
Yes.
I've been trying to get you since the story broke. I finally found you. We appreciate you. So how did this whole issue surface to begin with?
In 1989, Camp Lejeune was declared a Superfund site, which is...
Because of the water contamination?
Because of all kinds of contamination aboard the base. Superfund is a slang term for the national priority list, and under the CERCLA laws that were written by Congress in the 1980s.
So after it was declared a Superfund site, then revelations start coming out about the water supply?
Oh, yeah. See, when a site is declared a Superfund site and put on the national priority list for contamination, that automatically requires a look-see by the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry, or better known as ATSDR,
right,
to go to each and every Superfund site and do a public health assessment.
So how long were you stationed at Camp Lejeune?
Oh, on and off throughout my career, I was there for over 11 years.
All right, so, and the 3 decades we're talking about were like 57 to 87, I think.
Well, and what one has to remember is that the 57 through 87 date is for the Tarawa Terrace water system only. That doesn't include the Hadnot Point and Holcomb Boulevard systems, where the majority of your people were.
These were other water supplies as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Now tell our viewers what happened to your daughter.
My daughter Janie was the only one of my 4 children that was either conceived or carried or born at Camp Lejeune. Janie was carried by her mother for the first trimester while being exposed to the contaminants in the water at Camp Lejeune.
Drinking water, showering, whatever.
Cooking, cleaning,
everything.
laundry.
Everything. And tell us what happened to her.
Well, Janie was subsequently born at Beaufort Naval Hospital in Beaufort, South Carolina, because I had orders to go be a drill instructor at Parris Island. When Janie was 6 years old, she was diagnosed with acute lymphocytic leukemia. I watched Janie die and suffer a little bit at a time for nearly 2.5 years before she finally died.
Well, when she was diagnosed, what did you think? Just that these things happen in families? Is that was?
Well, initially you're in shock, and then after the shock wears off, you begin, and I know this for a fact because I've spoken to so many other families that had children with long-term catastrophic illnesses, and I went. After the shock wore off, I started wondering why. And I started researching. I researched my family history,
right,
her mother's family history. I could find no other child that had ever been diagnosed with leukemia.
In the family. So how was the connection made between the water supply at Camp Lejeune and the health issue with your daughter?
In 1997, Janie died in 1985, the year that they took the contaminated wells offline, most of them. It was in 1997. I was walking out of my kitchen one evening with a plate of food, spaghetti, to watch the evening news, sit down in the living room, watch the evening news. And as I was walking into the living room with my plate, a reporter from a TV station who was covering the public health assessments release. The ATSDR released the public health assessment for Camp Lejeune, and they were covering it, and the reporter on the TV said, the ATSDR had released their public health assessment for Camp Lejeune, and the contaminants that they had found in the drinking water, which they erroneously said from 1968 through 1985 at that time, was possibly the cause of childhood cancer, primarily leukemia.
And what you...
For 14 and a half years, this nagging question had been with me, and I never thought that I would ever get an answer. And then when they said that, I dropped my plate of spaghetti on the living room floor. I said, my God. It was like God opened the sky and said, hey, Jerry, here is a possible answer to that question that had nagged you for 14 and a half years by that time.
So, where'd you go from there?
I started making phone calls. Being a retired Marine, I had it in my mind that the Marine Corps that I knew would do what was right by their people. I mean,
there was no question.
No question, no doubt in my mind that as I made phone calls and I started into this journey, which has been a journey. It's been almost like a fighting a war, but
with your own government.
Yeah, against your own people. But the more I got into this thing, the realization started coming over me that not only were they not going to do what was right, these people were doing everything in their power to do what was wrong and try to hide this.
Now, when you say these people, are you talking about?
The representatives of the United States Marine Corps, Department of the Navy, these folks that they have in charge of their environmental departments. And
the reason you came to that conclusion was you talked to them and they were denying what?
Oh, they provided ATSDR, who was there to do the public health assessments, and
a federal agency.
Yes, they're part of the CDC. They provided them with incorrect water system data for the base.
Are you saying that they manipulated the report purposefully?
Oh, I have the emails. I have the emails where a high-ranking individual at Headquarters Marine Corps wrote an email to these individuals at Camp Lejeune who were responsible for providing ATSDR with the data and information that they needed to do their studies and investigations at Lejeune, telling them that it had been identified by a victim that the drinking water data, the systems data that they had on the drinking water systems at the base was incorrect.
Hold on, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back and talk more with retired Marine Master Sergeant Jerry Ensminger. When we come back, how many people might have been affected by the toxins in the drinking water at Camp Lejeune? Stay with us.